as if he were the genie from Aladdin. And I said, Lord, I would like to open up for the band Stryper. I would also like to open up for my favorite band, Petra. I would also like to open up for White Cross. And I would also like to open up for a band called Bride. And I would like to open up for a band called Guardian. If it's not too much trouble, I'd also, God, like to get married. And if it's really not too much trouble, then I'd like to have kids. And last but definitely not least, Lord, I would love a Corvette. In the year 2000, Stryper was not even a band, but they decided they were going to get together and do this little Stryper Expo, get back together and do this one show, and guess who they asked to open up for them? I was like, he's answering my prayers! And then Petra, we got to play a couple of shows with Petra, and I saw what was supposed to be their last show ever, that we played with them. That's what was supposed to be their last show ever in Germany, or their last tour ever, not their last show ever, their last tour ever that they did on their Jekyll and Hyde tour. And I was like, oh, this is just incredible. I was just weeping outside the stage. And then White Cross, they weren't even a band, and then they played at the Cornerstone Festival. They got back together and did a show, and we got to open up. I was like, this is happening. This is actually happening. The prayers are being answered. I set the bar so high, right? You know, so actually it was really low. Anyway, so and then we became friends with Bride, played bunches and bunches of shows with Bride, and then played a couple shows with Guardian. Met a beautiful girl in 2004, married her in 2006. Actually, it was 2005 when I met her. Met her in 2006, a year and a half later. And now we have 3 beautiful kids, 12-year-old girl, an 8-year-old girl, and a 6-year-old boy who I tell every day he's my favorite son. He hasn't caught on yet, but it's the truth. Honestly, it's the truth. You know, there's really no way around it. And here's the thing, which brings me to the 8th request, which is so amazing that we're here tonight, because I know somebody out here in this crowd has that Corvette that God is going to lay on your heart to bless me tonight with this vehicle. And if it's not the Hot Wheels version, I would greatly appreciate it for all of you smart aleck Wisconsins out there, Wisconsinites, or whatever the heck they call you, Wisconnoisseurs. So anyway, you know, when my kids, this huge blessing that God's given me, when I see pictures of them and I look at them, they're extremely special to me, you know, and it's because I've been there through all the moments, and there have been really terrifying moments, and there have been just amazing moments, you know. If you follow me on Instagram, I post a lot of pictures of my kids. Now, when you see my kids, you might just look at them and just be like, "That's a kid." Next, you know what I mean, right? You don't really see anything because see, you haven't been there for all of those moments, right? You know, all of those moments that just where there was just prayer. Like, I mean, my first child. When we were looking at the ultrasound and the doctor said, we're pretty sure she's going to be deformed, so we just want you to be ready for that. And I remember just being on the back of the bus, and I started weeping and crying harder than I've ever cried in my entire life. Started praying for this person that I loved, that I had never even met them yet, and I loved them more than any other human being on the planet. And I'll never forget, we were on tour with KJ52, and Jamie, his drummer, he just came back as a friend, just sat beside me while I cried, put his arm around me, and I'll never forget it. And I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed harder than I've ever prayed, more than I've ever prayed for anything in my entire life. And my wife, as soon as this baby was born, she said, "Is she okay?" And I said, "She's perfect." And so when I see this child, you know, I see so much more than just a kid. You know what I mean? I see this person that I loved long before she ever even took her first breath. I remember just laying her on my chest. She's just like barely bigger than my hand, and just holding her and cuddling her. I have those pictures of her, you know, and they mean so much to me. She's so precious to me. I'll never forget the day that she was watching her Princess DVDs, and I slipped in a Star Wars DVD into her DVD case, and she just randomly pulled it out and put it in, and she said, "Daddy, what is this?" And I said, "This is the greatest day of your life, sweetheart." My second child, Blair, she is just an absolute joy. She's just the joy of our family. She is so affectionate, loves to hug and loves to cuddle and loves to laugh. And she's just like, right now, I'm thinking about her, and these are the thoughts that I have. I just remember her peeking her head around the corner and just blowing me a kiss right before we left for this. I know whenever in the morning I'll just go and I'll just crawl in bed with her and I'll cuddle up with her, and then I get hot after like 30 or 40 seconds, and I'm like, that's enough. And she's like, no. Stay right here. Just loves to laugh, loves to be tickled, There's just always laughing. We'll watch movies together, and she's just laughing, just constantly, all the time. And my son, he's kind of this kid who is very affectionate, but verbally, like he is this kid who he comes up and he just, no one said anything, he just comes up and he's like, "I love you, Daddy." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how are you so awesome? I never told my parents that. Where did you come from? You're an alien, obviously, He comes up like, "I love you, Daddy." He came up to me the other day and he's like, "Hey." And I was like, "What?" He put his arm around me, he goes, "Happy Father's Day." And I was like, "Who told you to say that?" I was like, "Did you touch your mom?" I was like, "Are you serious? You're just that awesome. You're my favorite son. Again, today." I see those two kids, and I see how precious they are to me. I remember we were on a trip, a vacation, and I was putting sunscreen on my pasty white oldest daughter who gets sun poisoned if she walks outside. And I just turned my back for a second, and the other two, I saw this lady just out of my peripheral just fast walking towards me, and I turned around and I saw the other two at the bottom of the swimming pool. And I jumped in, just terrified out of my mind. And I don't know what happens when you get that superhuman strength, and I grabbed them both simultaneously off the bottom of the pool and put them out. I had no idea how long they were at the bottom of this pool. And they were totally fine. And I see these moments when I see these pictures of my kids. I see how precious, how fragile they are, how wonderful they are. They're not perfect at all, I always threaten them whenever they're being really bad. I'm like, "I'm going to take you back to the hospital." These are things, you're just putting ideas in your head for whenever you're a parent. They don't know. They're like, that would be awful. I have to go live in a hospital now. But I see pictures of them, and they mean so much to me when I see their face. Sometimes God allows us to go through things just so He can just teach us things about Himself, And I think with kids, that's definitely what He's done with me. He allows me just to see a little glimpse of what it's like in His relationship with me, His relationship with you. See, I might look at you and I just see just a person. You might look at the person next to you and you're like, "Yep, that's a person. There they are. But when God sees you, man, He sees the one. He says, the world looked at you and said, "You'll be nothing." He said, "Oh, how wrong they were." He sees the one that had no friends, and He said, "I'll be the best friend you've ever had." He says, "Here's the one that they said would always be alone." He said, "Nope, you will not." The one that said, "You'll never be able to have kids." And He said, "Oh, you're going to have a whole bunch of them." The one that said was never going to be able to sing, that wouldn't make it, and what do? You sing. The one that is an artist, they said, "Well, that's a stupid thing to do with your life." And He says, "No, but that's what I put inside of you." The one that said that had a stuttering problem, that could never speak, and pastor of the church. The one who is hurt and was never going to be able to come back for that injury, and is now a professional athlete. The one who He knew, He put it inside of you, that you just knew how engines work and mechanics work, and it's just part of who you are, and it just always made sense to you, and you can fix anything. The one that can just make anything beautiful. Just look at a room and just know what to do to make it beautiful. Don't even have to think about it. You just instantly do it, and He made you that way. Every single one of you, He put this fingerprint on you that's unique and unlike anyone else's fingerprint. That's yours. Those talents and abilities inside of you. And He looks at you, He says, that's my kid. All those moments of where you were on the mountaintop and the valleys and where you almost died. Moments you're just having some fun with your friends and too much drugs that night and woke up and thought you weren't going to make it. And He says, my dad doesn't love me anymore. And He said, no. That's my kid. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. Those mistakes you made and those things that you did that you thought He'd never forgive you of. And you walked away and went and just lived your life and did whatever you did. He said, I'm going to tell you this story because this is exactly the way it is. Just like the prodigal son when he came home and the dad ran out and he threw his arms around that prodigal son and said, my son who is dead is now alive. And He looks at you and He says, that's my kid. Remember when you were far away? God says, one of the greatest days of my life is when you came home. That's my kid. That's my child. So I see you. I just see a person. You look at somebody in a wheelchair and you're just like, that's just a person in a wheelchair. And God says, that's my kid. You see that person with mental health issues and say, hey, there's something a little off there. And God says, that's my kid. You see that person with different skin color from a different culture, speaking a different language, wearing different clothes than you. And God says, that's my kid. You see that person who just sees the world differently than you do, maybe as a different political party. And He says, that's my kid. See that person that's just absolutely different than you in every way, doesn't share the same music, doesn't share the same clothes, doesn't share the same culture. I was in this men's group, little 3-man group, with a guy, with an older gentleman, and then a guy a little bit younger than me who is kind of more business oriented. So the older gentleman's more like a hunter type of guy. If you can just everybody be prejudiced here for a second and just imagine the stereotypical hunter. That's what he looks like. And then if you can just imagine a guy that is a stock analyst for a second, what does that guy wear to breakfast? Okay, that's the other guy. Now look at me. Thank you very much. And we're going to breakfast together every Tuesday morning, and the waitress would just come up. She goes, I just love you guys. I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, look at you. You got this guy, and he's look like this, and here, and then this guy, and then you have half a head of hair, and you're just, they're so different from each other. And they're just together, and you're talking about the Bible and Jesus and stuff. And God looks at all of us, and He's like, yeah, that's my kids. That's my kids. See, God's kids, we're all different. We all like different music. We dress differently, different amounts of money, different skin colors, different this, different that. And every one of us, He puts something that only we can do. Only we can do. Only you can do. Every single one of us. I love just thinking about the idea of this guy in the 60s. I'm not that old, so don't even think that. But there's a guy in the 60s named Bob Dylan. He's got the worst voice of anybody I've ever heard, okay? Sounds awful. I just sound like and yet he wrote these songs that changed a culture, that were just amazing songs, and he would write one after the other, and every single one of these songs were great. They're not just good, they were great. And people would sing these songs, they'd buy his albums, and they'd show up at these huge concerts of thousands and thousands of people, and they'd be singing these songs by Bob Dylan, you know. And you hear him sing, and you're like, that's nothing special. But God put something inside of him that only He could do. somebody come along, hey, you don't sing that well, and he'd be like, I'm more than just somebody who can sing. See, you got to understand, it's not just about being the best. You got to get this American mentality out of your head as a Christian, because we Americans, they always think about success like winning something or numbers, right? Being successful, winning American Idol, that's how you're a good singer. No, that's not how you're a good singer. Or winning The Voice, that's how you're a good singer, whatever, things like that. Or the success is always by numbers, right? You have numbers, that's success. Oh, how many records did you sell? Oh, that's a number. How much money did you make? Oh, that's a number. Or how many people are in this church? Oh, that's a successful church. They have so many people going to that church. But I need you to understand that God doesn't view success the way the world views success. He doesn't. He put something inside of you that only you can do. He made you with talents that only you have. Listen, I know I would never win a singing competition. I wouldn't. I'm like Bob Dylan in a lot of ways. But I am who I am. And I sing with all my heart. And there's nobody that can do it like me. There's only one of me. And I've given everything that I have to Him. Even though my talent may be just very small, I've given it to Him, and He's done miracles with it. Yes. I love the story of when Jesus fed the 5,000. 5,000 people out there that just didn't want to be away from Jesus, didn't want to leave. They were starving, but we don't want to leave Jesus. I know what that feels like. And the disciples were like, we got to let these people go get some food. He's like, no, what we got? He said, we got this little guy over here's got some fish and some loaves of bread, and that's it. And Jesus goes, that's enough. Dude, that's my story. Jesus took those fish and those loaves, and He multiplied it. I took what little I have. You got to understand. See, you're looking at somebody who wanted to play baseball, but I wasn't good enough. Who tried out for the basketball team every single year and never made it. You're looking at somebody who was on the football team but weighed 35 pounds at least. Got in for one play, and the guy that I was guarding scored a touchdown, and that was my football career right there. He purposefully made me not good at sports. Because He said, I want you to do something else. And even the thing that He wanted me to do, it wasn't always easy. I was in a talent show my freshman year of high school, and I sang this song, and I remember walking down the hallway, and the quarterback of the football team, with all of his minions around him, they began to sing the words of the song that I sang back to me, mocking me, and laughing, and pointing. The very thing that God wanted me to do, and they took that and they crushed me.
Yes, He did.
You feel me? And I think in that moment He was like, it's okay. Your voice isn't for them, but it is for somebody. I put it in you. Don't you stop singing. Don't you stop. Don't you stop. Don't you stop writing. Don't you stop believing. You trust me. You trust me. It ain't for them anyway. And I wasn't very popular. I didn't have very many friends. I was invisible in a lot of ways. I remember this new kid came to school. He became the new quarterback of the football team. He replaced that quarterback. And he liked Christian rock music.
Cool.
And he knew that I liked Christian rock music. And he became my best friend. And he sat with me at the lunch table. And that friendship changed my life. Because somebody took the time to love me. God made him unique. He was one of the most popular guys in school. And he didn't hang out with everybody else to hang out with the unpopular kid. You feel me tonight?
Yeah.
Not everybody has that gift. But God put that gift inside of him. That he could look at the one who was lonely. That he could look at the one who was invisible and say, I'll be your friend. And that was me. And here all these years later, all that insecurity of always trying to be something that somebody, trying to be the best. I walked away from God at 18 years old. A disciple broke up, and I made a mess of my life. And because God had taken disciple away from me, I got very angry with him. And I told him I was going to break every promise I ever made to him. And I sinned, unimaginably sinned. Whatever you could possibly think of, the answer is probably yes. I did all of it. I remember waking up in my own vomit. I remember being around the toilet bowl, and I remember praying this prayer, in the most disgusting and gross environment that I could possibly be in. And I said, I don't care about being anything anymore. The only thing I want is whatever you want with my life. And I whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Just take me. I don't care if anybody knows my name. I don't care if anybody ever sees me. I don't care if anybody ever if I'm first place in anything or make any more money than anybody else. My life is yours from this moment forward. I don't want to be anything else but yours. Take my life. Use me. Do whatever you want. And I prayed a disgusting prayer. I said, God, even if you want me to clean this toilet bowl with my toothbrush, as long as I know that that's what you want me to do, I'll do it. I've done whatever I wanted to do. Now I just want to do whatever you want me to do. And it was like in that moment, God said, now you're ready. Now you're ready. And now I don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. I want to be respectful and love everybody, but I don't care what they think about me. Older guys come up and they're like, hey man, you have half a head of hair. I'm like, yeah, I ran out of money in the barbershop. And I know what they're trying to say. They're like, like, go take a bath or whatever. It's like, I take 2 of them. I just, whatever. Just ran out of money, sir. Sorry. Whatever. I love being friends with older guys who just don't even know what to do with me. It's my favorite thing in the world. I live in sort of the South, they're set in their ways, and I love just being nice to them and being friends. And I was like, this is weird. You're a nice person. I was like, I know. I am. I really am. I just don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I say that to say this to you. Stop caring what anybody thinks. Stop trying to do it the world's way. Stop trying to be successful by what the world standards. Stop trying to be first. Stop trying to make more money than anybody else. Stop trying to have a better house than anybody else. Stop trying to have a better car than anybody else. Stop trying to be prettier than anybody else. Kim Kardashian, one of the most beautiful women in the world, it literally just on her second divorce saying these words publicly. I just want somebody that I can spend the small moments with. Money's not going to make you happy. Being more beautiful is not going to make you happy. She's just after the things that we all can have. The things that, just the small moments of spending time with another human being. That's literally what she does not have. Are you feeling me tonight? You've got to understand the world is selling us all a lie. None of that will make us happy. They're trying to make us pursue it. Trying to show us commercials and say, if you just pursue this, you'll be happy. It's a lie. We won't be happy with those things. God does not see success the way the world sees success. He doesn't want you to be anybody else but you. God wants you to be you. Because He made you to be you. You say, well, I don't have very much. And He looks over and He says, what do you got? One kid says, I just got some fish and some loaves of bread. And he goes, that's enough. And this kid just says, I just got this voice. I can scream a little. That's enough. Somebody else says, well, I like to pray. Oh, that's enough. Somebody says, well, I want to teach kids. Ah, that's enough. Somebody says, I want to start a church. He says, that's enough. Somebody says, I want to learn a foreign language and go be a missionary. He says, that's enough. Somebody says, I want to be a mechanic. He says, that's awesome. Somebody says, I want to be a mechanic. He says, that's awesome. You're like, you can be an accountant? For God? Yeah. Somebody says, I want to be an interior decorator. And he says, that's awesome. I'm going to make you do beautiful things. Somebody says, I'll be a chef. I want to just cook food, bless people. That's awesome. You're going to be the best ever. I put it inside of you to love those things. Somebody says, I just want to be a mom. And I want to stay at home. He says, perfect. I'm going to give you little disciples that are going to follow you around. And you're going to teach them how to follow me. And you're going to be the best mom ever. Because I put it inside of you. I I made you that way. Jesus is looking at you right now and he says, what you got? You just take out your hand and say, this is it? That's all I got? Not very much. He goes, no, it's exactly what I gave you. He says, give it to me. I'll take what little you have and I'll multiply it. And I'll bless the world with it. Close your eyes with me tonight. God looks at you and he sees your picture. He says, that's my kid. That's my baby. He loves you so much. Loves you so much. He sees you like no one else. The rest of the world looks at you and they see what they see, but God looks at you and he says, that's my baby. That's my kid. And he has a plan for your life that is just yours. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can do it. It's for you. It's not for anybody else. It's yours. And he's ready for you to come and do it. He's ready for you to open up your hands and give it to him. And let him multiply it and bless it. And do miracles with it. He's ready. And some of you are like, yeah, but I have sin in my life. Well, let's get it right then. Some of you are like, I'm a million miles away from God. Well, it's a short trip back. It's one step. Just turn around. It's one step. That's it. A million miles away? Yep. Just one. That's it. So let's go. Let's go. If the Holy Spirit is speaking to you tonight, and he's calling you to take those gifts that God's given you and say, he said, what you got? And you say, here it is. This is what I've got. You're like, you think God can use me with these gifts? Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I absolutely do. Well, it's just some little thing. I know. And he's just going to take it and bless it and do miracles with it. He will. So if you're here tonight, prodigal son and prodigal daughter, and you call yourself a Christian, if you're not a Christian, I'm going to talk to you in just a minute, but if you are a Christian, but you're far away from God, and right now the Holy Spirit's speaking to you and saying, it's time, I got something for you to do, I need you to stop being on the sideline, it's time, open up your hands, give it to me, let me bless what you got. If that's you, everybody close your eyes, keep them closed. If that's you, you want to come home to God tonight, you want to ask him to forgive you of your sins, you don't want any space between you and God tonight, then I want you to take your hand right now, take your hand. If you want to come home to God, and I want you to lift up your hand right there. Just lift it up. Lift it up. Awesome. 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 Anybody else? Yep. Yep. Awesome. Awesome. I'll say it again since more hands went up. Anybody else? Are you sure? If you're thinking about it. Are you thinking about it? Okay. All right. Good. We got everybody. Perfect. Put it down. Open your eyes. Look at me. I believe that God's timing is insane. He's incredible. I had a friend that I called one time. I could tell something was up with him. And I said, are you okay? He's like, I said, can I pray for you? He said, please. I prayed for him. It wasn't a Hall of Fame prayer. It was just kind of, Lord, be with my friend, whatever he's going through, help him. It wasn't anything. It was a small prayer. 3 years goes by. He says, hey, man, do you remember calling me? I was like, I don't know. And he says, you prayed for me on the phone. I said, oh, yeah, I remember that. He said, can I tell you what was going on in my life? I said, yeah. He said, I had a gun to my head. I was about to commit suicide because of some mistakes that I made, and I felt like my family would never forgive me. I felt like there's no way that God could forgive me. And I was praying right before I was about to take my life on my back porch behind my house. He said, I prayed, God, if there's any way you could forgive me, then I need a miracle. He said, when I said the word miracle, the phone rang, and it was you. And he said, and you said these words, can I pray for you? And he said, because of that moment, I decided to live, and I understood that God could forgive me, and now my kids still have a father, and I'm still alive today, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I told him, I was like, dude, I didn't even know any of that. And I'm not the type of person to just go around saying, can I pray for you? I love Jesus, but that's just really not me. I don't really do that. I'm like, hey, can I pray for you? just not like that. God's timing. Just putting you in the right place at the right time. Sometimes miracles happen. That little thing, I just gave God a prayer. I didn't have anything. I just gave him a prayer. It was just some fish and some loaves. It wasn't anything. And God took that and did a miracle with it. You see what I'm saying here tonight?
Yeah.
You don't even know what's inside of you. Just a small act of love. Just a small little act of love, and you don't even know God will do miracles with it. And sometimes you won't even know that someone's life was saved. 3 years went by and I had no idea that God was saving someone's life right there in that moment. I believe his timing is incredible. And I believe there's people in this room that he's brought here tonight, that his timing is for you to be standing here in this room right now, to hear me speak, that right now you don't know Jesus, you're not a Christian, you're not a child of God, and you're about to become one because of his timing, that he brought you here into this place on purpose for a reason, because he wanted you to welcome you into his family and for you to be his child. And he looks at you and he says, that's my kid. I brought you into the cup of joy on purpose so that you could be my kid forever. So close your eyes one more time. If you're here tonight and you can honestly say to me, I am not a child of God, but I want to be. Tonight is your night. You're about to become one. And I need you to know that being a child of God is not about being perfect, and it's not about never making any mistakes. My kids are not perfect, but they will always be my kids. And I'll always love them. And they didn't come out talking and they didn't come out walking, but now they talk like me and they walk like me. And they love the things that I love. They love Transformers and they love Star Wars and they love sports and they love all those things because their dad taught them that, okay? And when you become a child of God, you don't talk like him immediately. You don't walk like him immediately. You don't love what he loves immediately, but a couple years into it, you start walking like him. You start talking like him. You start picking up his accent. It just starts to happen, and all of a sudden people are like, I see Jesus in you. And you're like, yeah, because he's my dad. Yeah, I see God in you. Yeah, because he's my dad. You love like God loves. Yeah, because he taught me how to love like he loves. I'm loving because he taught me that. That's my dad. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never making a mistake. So right now, the God that brought you here on purpose, the miracle that you're standing right here, God's timing, he brought you here for this moment to say yes, to become a child of God tonight, to be his child forever. If you're here, everybody close your eyes. If you're here, and tonight is your night to say yes to God, to become his child, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your hand, just like everybody else did a minute ago. I want you to take your hand. If you want to become a child of God and say yes to him, I want you to take your hand right now and lift it up in the air right over your head. God bless you, buddy. God bless you. God bless you, man. Awesome, 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 awesome. Anybody else? I want to be a child of God. I want to say yes to him. I want to give my life to God tonight. Anybody else? Just lift it up right where you're at. Just lift it up. Awesome. Put them down. Everybody open your eyes, look up. Here's what we're going to do. Those who want to become a child of God tonight and those that want to come home and say yes, we're all going to pray with them together, okay? Not a magic trick. We're going to say these words in English. We can say them in German. It's not going to mean anything. We can say them in English. It's not going to mean anything. I could say, hey, let the whatever.